a guard and you can pull up from 30, there is very little that can be done with you. And that is the case with Stephen Curry. He don't need help. He don't need screens. He can create his own shot off the dribble.
Yeah. Ooh. Coach put me in the game. I can hit the shot from half court. MVP of all sports. Coach put me in the game. You know I'm the truth on the field. Bad up. Competition know the deal. Coach put me in the game. Woo. Yeah. Coach put me in the game. Coach put me in the game. Welcome to the Coach Staley, Coach English Show. Ghoulish gang. Coach put me in the game.
Welcome back to the Staley and English Show featuring Coach Kurtz, powered by Defy Life. Visit www.godefylife.com for all different types of content. Go to defylife.com to check out the new Staley and English Show webpage and blog. Check us out at Go Defy Life, because if you're not defying life, what is your life about? I'm your man, Coach English, and I'm here with Coach Staley. Our boy Micah is enjoying his birthday today. His birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday, Micah. Pretty sure Josh is going to give him a special birthday shout out in a sec, and we have a very special guest. Hopefully she'll become more of a regular, and we'll bring her in a little later. But as always, let's begin and, find out how everybody's week has been going. And Coach Staley, Josh, how's your week?
Man, week is going good. We're actually out of school. I'm praying for all the families that look like we're going to be affected by the Hurricane Florence that's coming in. Just praying for mercy that it dies down and it's not too damaging and people don't lose power at all. And if they do, not for a very long period of time. So we're just praying for well-being for everyone going through this storm that's about to occur within the next couple of days. So other than that, that's it. We out from school. You sit in the house a lot. So I've been taking my sons to the gym every morning, trying to get some work in with them to keep ourselves busy and not really think about it too much. And, that's about it, man. How things going with you?
It's going good, man. Just touched down in New York earlier today. Mom's got surgery tomorrow. So I had to come up to take care of her for a couple of days. So it just happened to be quite convenient that it was right when the hurricane was about to hit. I've been getting messages all day on social media talking about I'm dodging the raindrops. And I was like, this was already pre-planned. It just happened to work out that I wouldn't be there for that. So I'm definitely praying for the students in my area, because we're actually in one of the areas that are looking at getting hit down there in that coastal area. And we're going to get some winds and stuff. And like you said, hope nobody loses power and all of that. My prayers will be up, and I'm going to be watching it a lot over the next couple of days, because, when you got friends and, family, and of course my kids are in South Carolina, you got to be paying attention to what's going on. So I'm home currently at my dad's house and just ate dinner with him and my stepmom. Good eating. And so I'm good. Week's been blessed. It's been, I can't say anything much more. One of our guests for today is going to be, our guest for today. You're going to be a guest, right?
Today? Yeah, I'm a guest today.
Yeah, you're a guest today. So this is the first of many appearances, so to speak. So our guest today is Coach G. So we want to bring her in. Coach G, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm in Florence, waiting on Hurricane Florence, hunkering down, like everyone is saying. We're looking for heavy wind and rain, but, staying prayed up. Hopefully, like you said, we don't lose power. I think that's the toughest part, but I got ice. I got coolers. I mean, we ready to go.
Do you got bread? Did you go and get bread?
I wasn't fighting for bread.
You know Josh got bread.
There was
Josh,
lots of fights for bread, right? So I end up getting these little wheat rounds.
First and foremost, I don't even know why you waste your time getting wheat rounds. Like, what are wheat rounds, and what round are they going to serve you in? All right.
I mean, they are only 100 calories, and
so you want to be healthy while you
in the
storm. Okay, I got you. Well, I'm glad you got a plan. It's a method behind that. And as far as Coach English, in a sarcastic manner, saying, "I know Josh got bread." I got bread. I got a family. I got family, so I got bread.
That's what I'm saying. I know Josh did it.
So
that's a compliment.
I don't feel bad about that.
I was complimenting your forward thinking.
Man, you wasn't complimenting nothing, man. I'm not going to get into it with you today, man. I'm focusing on the show. I know you're trying to pull something out of me, but I'm not giving it. I'm not going to allow the enemy to use me like that today.
So. Josh, come on now. Come on. I'm not trying to bring that. That was a point. You are a person who thinks forward all the time. I know
your tone had nothing to do with forward thinking. Your tone was, I bet Josh got bread. Like, whatever, dog. Whatever. I might have had wheat rounds. Whatever those are. I might have wheat rounds or wheat squares. I don't know. I might have had something, but I don't know, man. But let's go. Let's get cranked up with the current events so we can get into the show. I think we got a very intriguing topic this time. So we want to talk about real briefly the rant that Serena Williams had after she lost in the championship game of the U.S. Open, which was a good match. The young lady that went on to win the match, it was her first U.S. Open victory. And some say that Serena's rant kind of negated, the young lady's victory. I don't 100% agree with that, but I'm going to let you guys start on that first, and I'll give my little quick spiel, then we'll get into today's topic.
Hey, G, I want you to start, being that it was coming from Serena, I want you to go ahead and start with that.
Well, it's a tough topic because I think, with everything going on, with all the Nike campaigns and all the energy surrounding being Black right now and asserting yourself and those things, I think that had something to do with how it spun out of control a little bit in the coverage because Serena spoke her mind, and you got to say, what's on your mind, especially when you're playing your hardest. I think the rant, of course, didn't take away, like Josh was saying. I mean, the girl won the U.S. Open. $3.8 million. She didn't lose $1 because Serena had a rant. You know what I mean? So you have to think about what time it is. You come to play, you do what you got to do. And she was able to do that. Serena played well, but I think, there were some things that happened. They said that she got coached. She's Serena. So, I mean, how much coaching could possibly happen during a match? I mean, really. And then she broke her racket. And then when she confronted the umpire, she called him a thief and said he stole the game, and he gave her that. Now, they showed plenty of clips of other people cussing umpires out and all these different things and them not being penalized. So there is some sort of double standard there, but, for people to say it took away from Naomi Osaka's victory, I mean, it did at the moment, but again, ching ching, it is what it is.
What's your thoughts on it, Coach E?
I guess I'm kind of torn. I guess I'm kind of torn between the two points. I do agree with some of the pundits who feel like the platform in which Serena chose to, express how she thought at that time was inappropriate, because I feel like if you're talking about bringing up the fact of the issue when, it's actually somebody else's moment at that time, you kind of let that happen. And then if in your own private, at the time in which you are being interviewed by yourself or whatever, at that moment, you want to bring up those points, then, of course, do that then. I don't feel like you should, have to bring up those points kind of to overshadow somebody else's moment at that time. But I also agree with, she had a point in what she said. So I think that sometimes it's hard to fall on a side of somebody. But, as always, you got to have your own opinion to make things happen.
So my spot, my position on how things went down with Serena Williams. First and foremost, congratulations to Naomi Osaka for winning her first U.S. Open. Even though Serena's rant was it was a lot to it. It was very I would say distracting to what was actually going on, the match that was going on. It definitely doesn't take away from Osaka's victory in the U.S. Open and the payday that she got. And I don't think her mom or her would feel that way because of the work it took for her to get to that point. Now, does Serena have a point? I'm not going to lie to you. I think she does. But I don't think what occurred in that U.S. Open match was just strictly based off of that U.S. Open. I think her frustration was mounted and built up from previous and past matches, events, circumstances, even down to the guy at the French Open saying she can't wear the outfit anymore. I think it was all built up. When she used the sexist card, I think it was well warranted. I've always been a fan of tennis, and I've seen the John McEnroe just go on crazy rants bad enough where he should have been penalized for the whole match, and basically nothing happened. I've seen several male tennis players that were awesome, from Andre Agassi to Pete Sampras, like do things, and Michael Chen and those guys, they might break a racket in frustration, but I never saw a point deducted because of that. I might have missed it. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but
to that point, what somebody said was it's all of those guys doing those things then, which makes the umpires be sensitive at this point. And they said also that Serena should have kind of known how this guy would react to stuff, seeing as how he has had run-ins with Venus before. So he's a very tightly wound umpire. So I don't know, and I'm not being one way or the other. I'm just kind of trying to figure out my own way of it. I do side on her side. I do side with her, but I also understand the other side. It's
rules to the match. It's policies that you have to follow. But I understand her frustration. I mean, she didn't win, and I think she was the bigger person at the end because she even told the crowd to stop booing and cheer for Osaka because that wasn't fair for Osaka. So I think she was the bigger person at the end. But I do feel that things were handled differently. Things were handled differently than it would have been if it was a male tennis player. Now, with that being said, maybe she put the fuel on that fire to where when those things do occur, everybody will be held to the same standard now. Eventually somebody's going to have to be that person that breaks the ground, to make sure everyone is treated fairly. I'm not saying she sacrificed the U.S. Open. I just think Osaka beat her. Osaka was just better than her in the match, and I wouldn't dare take that away. But maybe this breaks the ground, man. But any more thoughts on this current event? If not, we can go ahead and get into the topic.
What you was gonna say, G?
No, I agree. I agree, Coach. I think that it's really just about her. It's a groundbreaking moment. So that means going forward, next time we see a racket broken, we better see some points, some penalty happen, and that kind of just makes that the standard. It makes, passion is good, but at the same time, this does, because it happened on such a large stage, it's going to hold them to the fire on it. So that's all I got.
Amen. All right. So today's topic, we're going to get into something that can be touchy, if not handled the right way, but we hear it all the time. And it's a phrase that we hear where we say politics in sports. Okay. And it's just not limited to sports, but obviously this is like a sports based show, even though we get outside of that at times. But we're going to talk about politics in sports. it's something that's prevalent. It's something that people always talk about. Some people think it exists. Some people might argue that it don't exist. But it's something that has to be handled the right way, even if it's used too freely sometimes, which may take away someone's position that it exists. So we're going to discuss our views and go back and forth on what we feel politics and sports are, and how they might affect us or how they might affect other people. And from there, Coach, I didn't know if you were going to go first, but I'm gonna go ahead and let you kick it off, and Coach English will chime in, and I'll step in from there.
Okay. Well, politics and sports, it's a real interesting topic for me since, just some of the experiences that I've had going forward in the past. But I think, one of the main things that we have to accept, at the high school level and at all levels, there's going to be a certain level of politics, air quotations, that goes into it. I come from a family of athletic directors and college level coaches. And so I've seen it at different levels. From my perspective, it's like what we're doing with children. Sometimes it's not about the kids, and you can work and do things for the kids. And then you find out at the end of the day, as pure as your heart is, that in some capacity, it's not even about that. It could be about if someone don't like you. It could be if you said the wrong thing or you crossed the wrong parent. Now you're in a situation, and that's, technically, how we describe politics. It's about who's who. It's about who you know. It's about who you don't know. So there's different levels to it. And I think, each of us as coaches could go into different experiences that we've had on our level. But when you start talking about college level, you start talking about professional level, there's just such a huge dynamic when it comes to outside influences, and it comes to, in our sport. And so I'd love to hear what you guys think about it in terms of how the outside affects what you can actually do. From my experience, if I have a parent that doesn't like me, or if there's somebody in the community who thinks that they could do something differently, then it may affect how I can actually coach a game or what we can actually wear. So I've seen it at different levels, and I know that it transcends just high school and goes all the way up to the top.
I like where we started here. I remember when we were speaking before the show, when running our pre-production meeting, Coach G was like, she made a point to say that in high school sports, although we're talking about politics in all sports, but it's a little bit different for us as high school coaches. See, those guys on that upper level, they get paid millions of dollars. Some of us, our stipends, I've seen stipends as low as $1,200, $600, and so on. But we have to live to as Coach G said in the pre-production, we have to live to the same standards as those people who make those millions of dollars. We are judged not by what we know, the majority of the time, but sometimes whether to your point, Coach G, do the parents like us? Although I have come to the point where I realize I don't right. really care if they do. I'm gonna do my job, so I don't really care. The only people I care whether they care about, if they like me or not, or if they like the job I'm doing, is the administration that holds my job in their hand. So then let's go to that point.
Well, you're touching on something, and you got to have the right administration in place.
Well, that's true too, because I think that if you have the right administration in place, you're good. I'm going to say this very, very carefully because of my situation, but I'm in where I coach at, it's a heavy level of politics, and it is from not only athletics but academics as well. And if you're not moving exactly correctly, you could find yourself on the bad end of some things, of some decisions that you can't control because of the politics of the way things are working. And I think that goes from high school through college through professional, that the saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know is huge. You have guys and women who get workouts in their sports, sometimes not because they deserve it, but because they know this person who knows that person who's got them this workout. Or a coach gets a job. I know of an instance here in South Carolina where a guy was overlooked, a guy who has done an amazing job, but he was overlooked because the coach that resigned told them who to hire, and it was somebody who basically befriended him, not necessarily the best guy for the job. You know what I mean? And so it's those instances, and I wouldn't say that they upset me, but it makes us as coaches have to sometimes walk on eggshells. Like, we always have to be cognizant of what we're doing, because there's no telling what can happen, especially in this age of social media where anything can go viral. The court of public opinion is huge. So it depending on your administration and the people above you, is it something that they can deal with, whatever it is that you do that they feel they need to reprimand you for? Are you talking to the right people? Are you doing the things that you need to be doing? Are you not ruffling particular people's feathers? And I try my best to be as political as possible, but I'm not a politician. And sometimes my mouth gets me in trouble because I don't have a filter at times. And they say that somebody told me that I need to be more political, and I'm just not. I personally am not that dude. But I think that though this is, as Josh said, it's a sensitive subject because it's like it's an unwritten rule, or it's something that's always unspoken about. Nobody talks about the politics of it because nobody wants to ruffle someone's feathers. Nobody wants to hurt anyone's feelings. And I think that sometimes you kind of got to do it. But shoot, when you're talking about feeding your family and the ability to do so, sometimes you got to play that political game. What about you, Josh?
All right, man. It's like we said before, it can be sticky. So I try to put things in a perspective where people can understand exactly where we're coming from. Both of you guys did a good job of expressing your points. And I wrote down some of the points of the things I really like what y'all said. Like, so I would ask myself, when we say politics in sports, we're talking about sports, exactly what is it? Does it exist? Does it benefit anyone? Does it involve or relate to nepotism? And when will the numbers matter? Like, and the reason why most people, from my experience, and I'm gonna try to get back to answering questions. So most y'all have answered most of them, but from my experience with politics, this is when people start yelling, "Oh man, it was politics! Oh man, it's politics!" Well, it's politics in everything we do,
right?
Whether you want to do it or not. You don't have to play the game, but you better know the rules, okay? But so this is when most people be like, "Okay, it was politics," when they believe something wasn't fairly done. Okay, that's the first step in when things start to get sticky, because they're like, okay, it was politics. Like Coach E, you just mentioned, man, it was someone that was really qualified for the job. The coach made his recommendation. Obviously, the coach is connected to the community. Community is going to go off what this guy says. Bam, they hire somebody maybe might not have been as qualified as the person that didn't get the job. So a lot of people would say, hey, politics were involved when they feel something wasn't fairly done. That's when it gets sticky.
Right.
And then the next thing is public opinion. That's another reason why people are going to yell politics, because even in real life politics, with factions and all in our governmental system, public opinion is supposed to be important. So you have to deal with politics because you have to try to make sure you get the approval of public opinion, and at least the majority. And you have to get the approval of the majority while not disrespecting the opinion of the minority. So, right, it's politics, and it's very, very difficult in this coaching arena because we are so exposed to it all. We're so exposed to public opinion. So those two things really are like the foundation of politics when people are yelling, oh, it was politics. One, they feel something wasn't done fairly. Two, now we're weighing the burden of public opinion. Okay. And then last but not least, something that also involves politics in sports is, like you just said, Coach English, it's not what you know, but it's who you know. Now, this is extremely imperative because there's a good side to this, and then it might be a BS side to it. Okay. The good side is this. You have to know people. You need to connect, you need to network, and you need to branch out. That's with any profession. Okay. I pick up my phone. Anything I don't know is probably somebody in my phone I can call to connect with to get the answer from god doggone baking cakes to how to run the best 221 full court press. All right. So you have to network. Who you know is extremely important. Now, where people get frustrated and they say the politics are involved is when the who you knows gets something that people feel that you should have not got or would have not gotten if you didn't know that person. Okay. To make it in a nutshell, let me use a real life example. I've been finalist for college jobs. Okay. College assistant jobs. And even one time for a head coaching job. All right. Obviously, I didn't get any because I'm still here coaching at the high school level, which is fine. I'm not afraid to talk about failure. People run from that, but it's the truth. It happens. Stick to the path. But I didn't get the job. One job. I'm not going to say what job it was. Very disappointed. Then I seen the head coach make a post and said, well, I gave this guy the job because he gave me a job in the past. Now, I'm not saying that guy was not qualified, but it was like a slap in the face to me because you're not saying you gave this man a job because he was the most qualified candidate. You gave him the job because of what he did for you. All right. Now, if I was a person that was petty, I would jump, oh man, politics, that's terrible. You looked out for him because he gave you a job in the past. One, personally, do I feel this gentleman was more qualified than me? Of course not. And I'm not saying that just because it's me, but I'm sorry. I believe in myself. So I don't believe he was more qualified for me. But I guess what people who focus on taking things personal and making it all about them would have, if I was that type of person, I would have taken it as like, man, that's messed up. He gave that man a job. It's all politics. That's when people start yelling politics. I would never do that, but I'm trying to give leaders an example of why they might get people frustrated with feeling like, hey, I didn't do the right thing, and people yelling, oh man, it's politics. So it can be sticky at times, again, because public opinion is involved. People might feel that hey, something was done unfairly, and then the who you knows. Who do you know? Well, I try to build my relationships off of how can you help me grow? How can I connect? And how can I help you grow? Not so much of what you're going to do for me just because I know you. And that's just how things go. And that's why when people yell politics, it can become extremely difficult to comprehend on both sides, because one side is saying, hey, I made this decision because of this. The other side is saying, you're full of crap for making that type of decision because you only did it for the hookup. Okay. That's where we are saying, oh man, politics get involved. And it does. Politics does get involved because public opinion is always going to be important. But does that necessarily mean that is always the right decision? No, which gets right back to compounding onto politics. So the biggest thing is, like I said, man, let's just make sure the numbers count. And numbers don't necessarily mean wins and losses. Numbers can mean what someone brings to the table, what someone can offer, and who someone really knows in a productive manner, not just from a hookup manner. So politics is sticky. That's just kind of my position on it. We can go back and forth some more, but I'll pass the mic back to you guys to get y'all thoughts on things.
Well, I was going to add something to what you said, which I think is completely true. And I think you have to change when you are inside. So we're inside as coaches, and we've met people who moved up faster than we have. We've met people who've ruined everything based on maybe messing over the wrong person. Maybe something happening, and then you see how they just become stagnant in their careers. So, I mean, yeah, that's politics. But, you know, as someone who, you know, I've experienced this, you know, for example, my brother is athletic director now at Austin Peay State University, and he was a finalist for a few jobs before he actually got an opportunity to do that. He has the same name as my dad. Several people, you know, will say, well, he just got that job because he knows this person who knows that person. But no one talks about the 20 years it took him to get to this point and the work that he did. So being on both sides of it, you know, I can see that. For example, when I've got my only head coaching job, you know, I came to Wilson with a few years of experience as an assistant coach and a JV coach. You know, I was told by my athletic director at the time, well, you need to put that you coached an extra year so people will feel, you know, validated in us hiring you. But why is that? Because that's the public opinion that you talked about, because it matters to somebody.
Right.
You know, even after you start winning games, like you said, it doesn't matter the numbers, it doesn't matter what I can bring to the table, it doesn't matter that I can add this, but it's going to matter to somebody who's going to read that article and say, well, you only did this because of this. XYZ, whatever the situation might be. And, you know, gave me an opportunity to do some great things. And so I'm not one to say that, you know, it can't happen, because life is about who you know, what you know, and what you do with what you know. To lose my job last year, because of getting a DUI after a party that 7 other coaches were at, to be replaced so quickly taught me a valuable lesson. And so I think, you know, it took me a minute to become comfortable sharing that with people. But the reality of it is, you know, things happen. And what you do next is the most important part. There were several things that could go into politics after that happened. All right. So it happened. I was leaving a place. Several coaches were there. I don't know what happened. I don't know why I was followed. I don't know why I was the only person who was stopped. Fast forward, you know, we go to a meeting with the principal and AD. They say, you know, well, the principal's like, well, we have to do something, right? Mind you, I have a job at this school. I'm very good in my job. You know, it's not about wins and losses at this point because I've been successful for a few years. But we got to do something. You know, people got to know that we can't just let you not be punished. You know, and I started to think about these things. And as I got through it, I started to reflect on, what does that even mean? We got to, you know, we can't let people think we just let you get away with it. You know, and so it becomes just like what you were saying about public opinion. Because if the kids are okay, you know, I wasn't driving around any kids. I was, you know, it wasn't even that kind of situation. You know, personal time. Again, I give 125% to the school. It's not that, but you know, yeah, we need to do something because, you know, we can't let people think you just, you know, are going to get away with this. And I was thinking, well, I never thought I was just going to get away with it. You know, I'm being drugged through the media, so I'm not getting away with it. Trust me. You know, but I was out of work for 6 weeks out of my counseling job while they were trying to decide what to do with me on the other side. And honestly, it was admitted to me that it was just about the basketball job. Well, we don't want you to be the basketball. We don't want that to be the case anymore. We need to give somebody else a basketball job. And in them giving someone else a basketball job, that meant replacing me with somebody who, you know, that the girl, you know, they had put on my staff in August. So what happened in September. So what you said, you know, I totally agree with that. You know, I could have tweeted and shouted politics and caused a really big stink, and I opted not to because of what you said. You know, how do we be an example for other people, our students included, other leaders, and how to evolve when these situations happen? Yelling politics is the easiest thing to do. I think that's the surface thing to do. It's kind of like screaming racism right away. That's the easiest thing to do on the surface. But then when you dig below the surface, you know, a lot of times it is that. But then what's the next part? And there's usually more to the story.
Yeah, man, it's your response, and I mean, I appreciate you sharing that with us on the show, man. That was so candid and honest and live. But you know, how you respond is huge. Right. You know, we're all going to go through things. A lot of people like to put out this image that, you know, nothing happens to them, and they are afraid for people to know about their shortcomings. But it's okay to be a testimony for someone else. But you're right. A lot of what it went right back to what I was talking about, you know, public opinion. Mm-hmm. You know, is it going to be fair that nothing happened to you, whatever that happened is supposed to be? Okay. And then it's like, hey, I've seen situations because of what people know. And, I won't call any names, but I've seen other coaches get the same charge and keep their job.
Exactly.
I've seen them keep their job. So, that's when, like I said, that's when the politics of it gets sticky. When people think things were done unfairly, public opinion is involved in the who you knows and maybe even at times the what you knows, because you can hang something up over somebody else's head.
Right.
That's when people be like, hey, man, that's politics. That's a bunch of baloney. And I guess the lesson to be learned, the tough part, is make sure your product is so good and whatever you're producing off the assembly line of life, it's in such of demand and high need that it doesn't really matter what politics or anything is involved. And that's what I would try to get young coaches to understand, man. We all make mistakes and someone's going to listen to this and learn from yours, Coach and Coach G, and be like, yo, okay, she's still living, she's still kicking, she's still surviving, and she actually could tell someone else something positive. I can survive too through my shortcomings and my mistakes. And the biggest thing is, like you said, and I was talking about it to my wife last night, and I was fussing at my sons. It's not what happens, it's how you respond.
Right.
How are you going to respond? Are you going to go in a cave and curl up and just die, or are you going to stand up on your two and keep pushing and keep walking forward? But it's that's where the element of politics get involved. Coach E, man, what you thinking over there, brother?
Well, to me, to G, thank you for sharing that with us, because I'm pretty certain, to open up like that on our show is great. You know what I mean? And so thanks for that. And two, I kind of, even before knowing you as I do now, I admired the way you dealt with the situation. I never heard anything from you. I never heard a negative word from you about anybody. Didn't see any social media post about what was going on. You stayed to whatever it is you felt personally about whatever it was. You kept it to yourself, and I think you dealt with it in a very professional manner, because a lot of people would not, in today's day and age of social media, would not have been able to deal with it the way that you did. And I think that ultimately that's what's going to keep you in the running for other jobs, is because of the way you dealt with that situation. The situation didn't defeat you, so to speak. And I think a lot of times what happens to people is they allow the situation to defeat them. And it beats them to death, and they don't know how to react. They don't know how to be a professional. They don't know how to say, all right, cool, I'm just going to keep my mouth shut and let it play out. Because at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in what's meant to be will be. And so on that matter, I really admire how you dealt with it. Now, back to some of the points that was made. We live in a society that is mostly run by public opinion because of the level of, I would say, the injection of social media into society. Because think about this. Like, how many things did we really, think about yourself in high school before Facebook and MySpace and all this other stuff? Well, before cell phones, really stuff, how much stuff can you imagine how many things were not talked about or even reported on, unless it was major, But because we're in such an instant society right now, politics is huge, because you can literally burn yourself by making these bad decisions and not really thinking on the political side of it. So when you guys say, when I say I don't like to be political because I'm not a politician, I don't like it, but I understand it's a necessity for the profession that I have chosen to do. And I think that all athletes, I think that all coaches on every single level need to understand that although you may not like politics, it is a huge part of what comes with us in this particular profession.
Yeah, it's always going to be a part of what comes with this profession, and the bulk of it, of that politic element, is public opinion.
Right.
Public opinion is going to be the bulk of it, even when the public might not be efficiently informed.
Right.
It's still going to come down to that, and again, you're just going to have to make your product so good that you could fight through certain things, man. Like, for instance, like Rick Pitino finally admitted that he's done with coaching, not because of his ability, but because the University of Louisville knows for a fact it's no way on God's green earth that they can bring this man back.
Right.
Because like, who's going to really send their child to play for him, as great as a coach he is, if the public opinion is this is the type of program that he runs. So they had to go in another direction. So that's where the politics lay. And I'm glad we're doing this show, because I really want our viewers and listeners to understand, more listeners than viewers. We want our listeners to understand that what politics really are. Because people will be like, for instance, like when they give an award,
right,
at the end of the year, all state, all region, player of the year, a lot of people are like, man, it was politics. Was it really politics? The kid was just better. He's just the best player.
Thank you.
The best player.
That's
sometimes it's like, oh, it was politics. Nah, Youngin was just a baller. She was a monster.
Yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't quite politics. And that's one of the reasons why I enjoy being on a board and serving the Basketball Association, serving our state, because I want to try my best to make sure the best coaches, the best student athletes, the best communities are being recognized, and that South Carolina is being represented in the highest manner possible. So don't be so quickly to use the word politics. That's when it gets watered down and people don't really want to hear that.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, it was politics. Oh, no, Youngin was just better than all the kids on your team. Okay, so I do believe public opinion is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah. I do believe public opinion is extremely important. I do believe that sometimes things are done unfairly. Mm-hmm. I do believe sometimes things are done unfairly, but it's all about how you respond. Like I shared my testimony with y'all. I didn't get the job. I saw the post when the coach was like, I gave this guy the job because he gave me a job in the past. I'm like, I could have easily been like, oh man, that's bull crap. Nah, congratulations. Let me go make my product better so the next guy that interviews me can't deny me. So it's all about how you respond. It's all about how you push over to the next step. And if someone says, oh man, Coach Staley trying to leave AC Florida, no, I'm trying to leave for the next step. And if a coach is coaching your child and they're not trying to take the next step and continue to advance their career, no matter what it may be, you shouldn't want them coaching your kid, because they're not going to push your kid to the highest level, highest potential possible.
I think that's very, very valid points. And I'm sorry I cut you off, but I was just thinking
good.
When you talk about, this is a great opportunity to share. And I think a lot of people, just as a female coach, who has been moderately successful. I mean, you talk about numbers. It doesn't, at the end of the day, like you said, you make your product the best you can. And then sometimes some things are done unfairly. Sometimes things are just crappy how they happen. And what I was determined to do was return to school, make sure my kids were on the same track that I left them on, right? Making sure that they were going to be academically eligible, making sure that my counseling job didn't skip a beat, making sure all of those things happen. And so what happens when you do that, it confuses people. The easiest path to take, like for you, Josh, would have been to be like, okay, I'm about to post something up here and let him know, I applied for this job and I was better. That's the easiest thing to do. The easiest thing for me to do would have been like, just act crazy the whole time and be like, I never got a resignation letter, so I don't know how this person is doing my job. I've never, I never turned in one. I never got a termination letter. So I still was never fired, still to this day. So I could have done all those different things. That's the easiest thing to do. That was what they were waiting on. That was the button they wanted me to push, because they have an answer for that button. People don't have an answer for when you carry yourself and are resilient and bounce back and keep your head up and keep going. They're not, when things bad happen, they don't have anything for that. And so that's why I tell, I wanted to make sure I came back and did those things for my kids. And I say my kids, I'm talking about all the kids I work with, because it's truly about the kids to not take the easy way out. When you get a hard foul on you during the game, the easiest thing for you to do is to turn around and push the person back. That's the easiest thing to do. The more difficult thing for you to do is shake it off, make the free throws, and win the game. So sometimes taking the easy way out is not the best thing to do. And so, like you said, using the word politics, we don't want to water it down. Sometimes it is what it is. Sometimes things are crap. But, most of the time, it's going to be how you respond to it to make it, what your end game is going to be.
Yeah, Coach, I think those are great points, man. But, politics exists, whether we want to accept them or not, it's a part of society. It's a strong element in our American culture. So it's just something we're going to learn how to deal with. And hopefully this show helped someone out. Hopefully this show got someone to understand exactly what politics are in sports from a different perspective that can help you in the future. But we're going to go ahead and close the show out, man. We're going to start with our shout outs. First and foremost, we want to thank Coach Harrison for being a guest on this show and really stepping in and just being honest and open. So we really appreciate you, Coach.
No problem.
For being on the show. We want to give another birthday shout out to Coach Kurtz, though he couldn't make it because he was still out in the lab grinding, doing what he does best. Happy birthday once again, man. You one of the best friends I have in the world, man. We love you. We appreciate you and keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, Josh, I echo those same sentiments, man. Happy birthday once again to my brother Micah, man. You out there grinding, man. Keep grinding. It kind of what makes you who you are. To Coach G, thanks for joining us again. This went so well. This might be something that we got to make permanent. I think you might have to turn into being a staple. But appreciate your time. Appreciate you being candid. Appreciate you really putting your input on this very, very touchy topic of politics and sports. But we're going to go ahead and get out of here. If you want to join the conversation, you can email us at the Staley and English Show. That's the Staley, A-N-D, English Show @gmail.com. You can hit us up on all social media platforms. We have every single last one. It's the same thing, the Staley and English Show. You can also make sure to follow us or subscribe to all of our different podcast platforms. Remember that we are powered by Defied Life. So go ahead and visit www.godefiedlife.com. Check us out. Check everything out, because if you're not defying life, what is your life about? As always, keep God first. Everything else will follow. Peace.